are you doing today?
Good morning, Jim. I'm doing great.
It's good to see you.
It's always good to see you.
Thank you so much. We've been seeing each other for a while now, huh?
Oh, many years.
It's been many years.
Many years.
God has brought us a mighty, mighty, mighty long ways, huh?
Yes, He has.
My aunt used to say that. She used to say that often. You know, God has brought us a mighty, mighty long way, and if the Lord should say the same, she would say. And so that kind of leads into our friend, our mentor,
Yes.
community activist, an advocate, just a doggone good guy.
Man, I'm
Just-
gonna miss him.
Wasn't a perfect
Gonna
guy.
miss him.
Wasn't a
But
perfect.
who is?
Yeah, who
Who
is?
is?
And
Who is?
none of us are, but
And he came close.
yeah, but he put himself out there. So we're talking about Pastor Wallace Hartsfield. Some would say Dr. Wallace Hartsfield, Reverend Dr. Wallace Hartsfield.
Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is talk to you about the focus word that we're having today is change, and I think Hartsfield was a change agent, and a change transfer, and a change depositor for the betterment of people in our community. So what was your experience with?
Well, actually, I like to use the term visionary
Okay, that's
because,
fine.
from my standpoint, he was a visionary.
Okay.
He was definitely a visionary. I knew Pastor Hartsfield. I call him Pastor E.
Yes.
From a child, grew up, and loved him. Just whenever he preached in my home church, I'd always make sure I was there to hear him because I knew he was going to end with a song too.
And sing too.
He could sing
Yeah.
too. And then I got to know the family later. But Pastor E was a person that even my husband, Reverend Bill Kelly, would go and talk to about things because we just trust his judgment, his wisdom. And he just exemplified that man of faith that we knew that he was a confidant too, if you will. He was definitely a confidant. But what got me more involved with Pastor E was back in 2006, February. Well, it was leading up to February, Black History Month. He and at the time Mayor Cleaver and some other ministers wanted to bring together this big worship service. And they called it they actually formed a committee that eventually became a nonprofit called the Kansas City Black Heritage Organization. And what they needed, Janetta Bradley, who's my aunt, was on this committee.
Janetta Bradley.
Yeah, you know that's a singer there too.
Yeah,
And she calls me her oldest niece.
Okay.
Because I am. I was the first girl in the family, the first granddaughter. But anyway, she invited me to be on this committee with Pastor E and Mayor Cleaver and others to help pull together this worship experience, if you will, of the greater Kansas City area, Kansas and Missouri side, but the metropolitan area. And the reason why they brought me in was I was the dance minister and director for Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. And so the dance ministry had become well known in the city. And pastors said, I want that person that has all those dance teams over there at Bell's Church, L. Henderson Bell's Church. So that's how I got invited on the committee because at that very first meeting, he looked at me, he called me baby, or sometimes he called me baby girl. But he looked at me and said, baby,
Yeah.
I want you to pull together for me some dancers. I want dancers all over that sanctuary of mine. I want them, to represent. I want you to pull them all together, male, female, whatever you want. But I want a big mass dance presentation, which was the first here in Kansas City, was the Kansas City Heritage program that they pulled together. So what I did, actually, all this information, this history is out on my website. But what I did was I wrote letters to different churches where I had already formed a relationship with those dance ministries and invited them to come together and be a part of this worship service. And so I ended up, eventually there were like 60 plus dancers, and I meant to bring that picture today to share it with you. But there were 60 dancers who came in, and we ministered and danced for this worship service for the Greater Kansas City it was Kansas City Black Heritage Organization, that's what it was. And what happened is Pastor E didn't know at the time that I was looking to form a community dance team. And what happened was his vision in bringing these dancers together actually opened the door for me to recruit, and I'll share with you how that happened. After that dance presentation at that worship service, we started getting invitations to go out. Keep in mind now, this took place the second Sunday in February 2006. And Black History Month. And this dance presentation that we gave, that we ministered, was an African dance. And
I've seen it before.
it was well received. You do see it on occasion again and again. That's how old it is, the choreography we did. But we started getting invitations for Black History programs with the city of Kansas City and other churches who were having Black History programs. And I would just say to these ladies who all came together, we'd never danced together before except for my ministry and his dance ministry. And I say, hey, we've got an invitation. Who would like to go and minister for this Black History program? Invitations for schools and everything. And it was always maybe 10 or 15 women who'd come together. And they said, hey, this is fun, Chris. We like being with you. We like doing this. So I said, great, because I'm getting ready to form a community dance ministry. And Pastor E had said, Chris, I'm there for you. If you need spiritual advice or whatever, I'm there for you. Well, what eventually happened, this went on for about a year with the Black Heritage Organization, that we started ministering at events through dance for all the things that they were doing. So it kind of traveled along, and whatever the Heritage Organization was doing, with Pastor E was a part of it, the dancers were a part of it. So we eventually he doned us as his dance ministry, which I feel that we were, because he was the visionary who asked me to bring all this together. And so that's really how it happened. He continued until his passing to be my spiritual advisor for that dance ministry. And that's really how we came together. But I tell you what, and I wanted to bring pictures to show you of the original dance team that we are now called the Heritage Dance Ministry, because it's a program under my family foundation. But whenever pastor would call, or whenever of these ministers on this committee would call, we would go. We ended up dancing for a lot of the SCLC King celebrations. People will recall sometimes on and off with Ollie Robinson.
Yes.
He would invite us to come in and be a part of the opening program and everything. But it was through Pastor E and Pastor, oh gosh, he slips my mind right now. For the Black Baptist USA, Black National Baptist Convention USA. They were so aware of what we were doing as a dance ministry and the leadership that I was providing and all the choreography and everything, that every single year I have been asked to come together and provide the choreography and bring all these dancers together for the National Baptist Convention USA conferences that would be held here in Kansas City. And all of that started with Pastor E.
Pastor E.
He is the one who opened the door for me to move this ministry forward. And I tell you, one of the most touching moments that I have with Pastor E is the dance ministry surprised me with a celebration to say thank you as our leader. And they didn't tell me about it, and I thought I was going to a program for a puppet ministry for them to minister with puppetry. And I get there and I'm trying to pull everything together and wondering, why are the dancers just standing around? And so one of the dancers, Teresa Lee Covington, she said, Minister Chris, sit down. We got a surprise for you. Did not know that they had pulled together a worship service and celebration for me.
Really?
Such an humbling experience. But what was more humbling about that was Pastor E. I think he had just recovered from some kind of health issue. And it was the first time I saw him walking with his cane. And he had a chauffeur or someone coming with him. But you know, he thought so well enough of me to get up off his bed and come and celebrate. And I tell you what, Jim, I cried like a baby. Just to see him walk down the aisle and then stand in front of the audience and say, now my baby girl there,
Yeah.
you know, he said, you know, she can ask me to do anything, you know, when it comes to dance, and you know I'm going to support her in it. He has always been there for me, always been there for me. I will, I'll be forever grateful, which is one of the dance presentations he would love to see us minister. Grateful.
Yeah. Now, so you guys are still dancing?
Oh yes, we've been together since 2006. Dancers have come and gone, but we are still very, very active in the community.
Why don't you give me a?
Now, don't ask me to dance.
No. Why don't you give me a closing remark of your gut feelings, your true experience, or whatever you would like to say to the people about Pastor Hartsfield?
Well, like I said, he was definitely a visionary. I viewed him as a man of integrity and honesty. I think that he was a change agent, like you said. But everything that I encountered with Pastor E, it was with passion. He had a passion. He had a passion for any and everything that I saw him engage in. And he loved our dance ministry. He loved the Heritage Praise Dancers. And one other thing that brings to mind is he consecrated one of our dance garments, and he prayed over our dance garments. And then in that same consecration service, he gave us a standard. He set a standard for our ministry, and we had to give an oath. And every statement he made, we had to make a promise to that oath that he gave us.
Really?
And we still
hold up to that.
We do, because that was so important to us, and the delivery and how he gave it to us.
Right.
He meant what he said.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I can say by Pastor E is, if he said something, he meant what he said.
Yeah.
And he stand behind it. And those are the kind of leaders that I value.
We have Chris Kelly, and what's the name of your dance organization?
I'm Minister Chris Kelly with the Heritage Dance Ministry.
All right then. Well, we'd like to thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
out today.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm excited.
I am too.
That you came out today and that we were able to celebrate Pastor Hartsfield in such a dignified way here at Cascade Media.
I appreciate it.
Isn't that nice?
It's nice.
It is nice.
It is nice.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.